had a perfect example of what a man was in my life by my father. My parents has been together for 36, 37 years now, and it's a beautiful thing. I grew up in a 3-parent household, my mom, my father, and my grandmother. And I knew what a woman was.
There's Cam Newton, free agent NFL quarterback Cam Newton. He was on the $1 Million Worth of Game podcast. I think it's Barstool Sports runs that. So this is the one question. He knows what a real woman is. Is this gonna go to the transphobic rant, or is this gonna be an anti-equality rant? Let's watch.
I knew what a woman was, not a bad bitch.
Okay, what's the difference?
A woman.
Okay.
A bad bitch is a person who's just, girl, I'm a bad bitch. I'm doing this, I'm doing that. I look the part, but I don't act the part.
Okay.
And it's a lot of women who are bad bitches, and I say bitches in a way not to degrade a woman, but just to go off the aesthetic of what they deem is a boss chick. Now, a woman for me is handling your own, but knowing how to cater to a man's needs, right? And I think a lot of times when you get that aesthetic of like, I'm a boss bitch, like I'm a this, I'm a that, no, baby, but you can't cook.
Okay.
You don't know when to be quiet. You don't know how to allow a man to lead.
So if you guessed the misogyny route, yes, you were right. So a bunch of people jumped on this on Monday. He was getting a lot of pushback, and some of his supporters were like, "But did you guys hear what he said about men? You guys didn't watch the whole context of his comments. That wasn't misogyny." So I watched it. This is what he said about men right after.
Now, a lot of women, now the kickback of that is be quiet. I'm gonna be quiet for the man and handle his business. That's what they say. Oh, I'm gonna be vulnerable. I'm gonna be submissive to a man and handle his business. That's what they're gonna say. So what is your?
But it's ways to do it, and I'm not just about to sit up here and beat up my queen.
No, I ain't saying like that. Yeah.
But I'm also gonna also tell the men to start being men, bro.
Absolutely.
That sucker should not be rewarded.
And what sucker? So
when a person carries himself social media wise, and it's a fraud in real life.
Okay.
It's more to it. Every person that got money, every person who's rich isn't a real one.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And I think that gets kind of misconstrued in this society now because a lot of people have money, but they're not genuine people.
Okay, so I'm keeping score, Francesca. Women need to shut up, cook, and let their man lead and stop acting like they're a bad bitch. But on the flip side, men have to stop being suckers and stop being fake on social media. It all evens out, right?
Yeah. I know, forget about the home or their responsibilities or being a good partner, supporting the kids, supporting their partners or anything like that. No, it's just, hey, stop being fake on social. Don't use that filter, you don't look like that. Like what, it's so nebulous. He doesn't actually have advice for men. He's making that up, and the other hosts are like, okay, yeah, I guess I know what you mean by a real one. Nobody knows what he means. He doesn't know what he means by any of this. It is, look, I'm sorry, but athletes truly, and I just say this with a lot of respect for a thing I don't know how to do, stick to sports, please. Please, don't ask them about anything else. We often don't want to hear it. I'm sure people really like Cam Newton as a player. Don't want to hear his opinions on everything else. It is very, I don't know. I just want to, last thing I'll say is is Rihanna, who's about to have a kid, not a bad bitch. There's a lot of bad bitches out there. There's a lot of bad bitches. In fact, what a bad bitch is someone who can actually, who's not gonna go for an idiot like that. No scrubs, bringing it back.
You're gonna bring it back to no scrubs?
Bringing it back to no scrubs. That's I'm not even gonna give you the virtues of a bad bitch. Bad bitch knows her own worth. to not mess around with a dude like that.
I do love hearing from athletes outside of just what their normal, what we hear from them talking about what happened in the game and post-game press conferences or whatever else, trades and rumors. I want them talking outside of it because what he did say a lot throughout that interview is how much of a different person he is, and he's this, he's that, and you get a glimpse as to who he is. This is a part of who he is. It just is. And now, apparently he hasn't figured out that everyone has discovered that before, because back in 2017, he did have a bit of a run-in with this female reporter that was asking about routes and receivers, and I think he revealed himself there too. Watch this.
Oh no.
Devin Funchess has seemed to really embrace the physicality of his routes and getting those extra yards. Does that give you a little bit of an enjoyment to see him kind of truck sticking people out there?
It's funny to hear a female talk about routes. Like, it's funny. But fun is coming along, man. This is a big game for him.
Ew.
Really funny. It's funny to see a female talk about routes because, I mean, you're just a woman. What do you know about movement and routes in a sport, bro? What's the matter with you? Now, by the way, really fast, because there was fallout from that, and this was part of what he said. Let's go to graphic number 5, because this is what started me. I didn't know that this was part of his apology, because he lost sponsorships. Multiple organizations were pulling out against him. So he was in the fire over those comments just about the route running. So graphic 5, he said this. It was a lesson learned for me this whole week. This is in 2017, is what he said. My sarcasm, trying to give somebody kind of a compliment, turned in ways I never would have imagined. To the daughters, the sisters, and all the women all around the world, I sincerely apologize, and I hope you can find the kindness in your heart to forgive me. So I think a few people did, because that was largely forgotten outside. I think Dan and Yogurt dropped him, but he's back on it now and a bit more explicitly. And we definitely know it's what he believes in, because he said he grew up in a great household that taught him this.
Oh my God. I mean, in that great household, like, let's interview your mom. Like, honestly, like that, it just sounds like an abusive household. It sounds like people got yelled at, that his mom got yelled at when she didn't do the right thing. I mean, this is like, it's back in the kitchen stuff. And like that response of like, wow, it's so weird to see a woman. That's like the most distilled, pure form of misogyny. You just saw across his face him be impressed. It's like, and women, we all know, we've all been in that situation where you say something or you do something that a man is not expecting because he doesn't see you as a full human being. And that's the expression. And they're like, wow, you're like smart. I didn't know you were like a human.
My last thought on this is, by the way, there are women that love doing these things for their men. And by the way, I assume any woman would. And also men doing it for their women. The difference is he's saying that's what makes a real woman. A real woman can do whatever she wants. If she wants to cater to a man, feed him, shut up, and then and let him lead in whichever realm that is, cool, nobody's against that. But the problem is when you start saying that all women, unless they do that, they're not real women and no man wants them. It's just not the case. It's a bit, as we always point out, 1950. And I don't know why he's still living there, or even if you do believe it, it might be one of those things you wanna mute because you realize that's not where most of society is these days.